I'm sure this will surprise you. The reason you feel stuck might not be that you're doing too little. It might be because you're doing too much. What if the thing holding you back isn't a lack of discipline, but an overload of commitments? Because the building a career, staying fit, being the perfect partner, growing a side business woman who still wakes up at 5 a.m. looking refreshed is a myth. Why? Because the women who seem to make the biggest transformations in life often aren't doing more than everyone else. They're doing less, much less, but they're doing the right things with extraordinary focus. What I'm about to share could completely change how you approach success, productivity, and even happiness. And at the end, I'll share with you one word that has the power to shift your life entirely. Let's find out. And let's start with something most women experience every single day. Number 1. The hidden mental load. Nobody talks about the invisible checklist, not the one written in your planner, the one living in your head. Call the dentist, start that workout plan, reply to that text, organize the closet, read that book, learn that skill, work on that business idea, be a better partner, mother, friend, and the list goes on. Sound familiar? Now, here's what most people don't realize. Your brain doesn't treat unfinished goals like inactive files sitting quietly on a shelf. It treats them like open tabs, every single one, and they're all consuming energy. Psychologists call part of this the Zeigarnik effect, a phenomenon where unfinished tasks remain active in our minds and continue demanding attention, even when we're not actively working on them. Research has repeatedly shown that unresolved commitments continue to occupy mental resources. In other words, that habit you keep saying you'll start next Monday, it's already costing you energy. That online course you bought but never opened. Energy. That goal you feel guilty about every day. Energy. That side project you haven't touched in 6 months. Energy. And here's the surprising part. Your brain often spends more energy carrying unfinished commitments than it would spend simply letting them go. This is where so many women get trapped, because they mistake mental exhaustion for personal failure. They think, I need more motivation. I need better discipline. I need another productivity system. No. Sometimes you simply need fewer tabs open, and that's even more relevant for you than you might think. Number 2. Why women are burning out faster than ever. Women often carry multiple layers of responsibility simultaneously. Career, family, relationships, household responsibilities, to name a few, and increasingly, the pressure to continuously improve themselves. Modern culture doesn't just tell women to succeed, it tells them to optimize every area of life simultaneously. Be ambitious, be healthy, be productive and feminine, strong and balanced at the same time. So how do you achieve all of that without ever appearing overwhelmed? It's exhausting. A study published in Psychological Bulletin found that multitasking and juggling competing demands significantly increase stress while reducing performance quality. Your brain is not designed to prioritize 10 important things equally. Because if everything is important, nothing truly is. This is why so many women end the day feeling busy, but strangely unfulfilled. You were active all day, but the things that mattered most barely moved. And here is why. Number 3. The productivity lie that keeps you stuck. Here's the belief that sounds productive, but quietly destroys progress. If I add more good habits, I'll become a better version of myself. At first, it feels logical. You want better health? Add a workout plan. Want more success? Add a morning routine. Want more confidence? Add affirmations. Want more growth? Add reading goals. Soon, your life becomes a giant collection of self-improvement projects. But here's what research consistently shows. When multiple goals compete for the same resources, time, attention, and energy, performance declines. Your brain starts making trade-offs. Instead of doing the important thing, it chooses the easiest thing. That's why many women spend an hour organizing their planner instead of making the difficult phone call, or researching workout programs instead of exercising, or watching productivity videos instead of doing the work. Not because they're avoiding success, because the brain naturally seeks completion, and checking off small tasks feels rewarding, even when those tasks don't actually change your life. You become addicted to progress indicators instead of actual progress. And that's a dangerous trap. Think of it like a phone that is never allowed to charge past 10%. It can still work, it can still answer, it can still respond when everyone needs something. But every task drains it faster. Every interruption pushes it closer to shutdown. And after a while, even simple things feel heavy. That is what many women are living through. They have to function on emotional low battery every single day. So what is it that high-performing women do differently? Now here's the part that changed everything for me, and in a few seconds, I'll keep my promise to share the one word that has the power to shift your entire life. The women who consistently thrive aren't necessarily more disciplined or more talented. And they definitely aren't trying to do everything. They protect a few priorities relentlessly. Research from organizational psychology has found that companies with fewer strategic priorities often outperform those pursuing many objectives simultaneously. The same principle applies to your life. Focus creates force. Scattered energy creates frustration. A woman focused on 3 meaningful priorities will almost always outperform a woman dividing herself across 15, not because she's working harder, because she's working deeper. So here is the one word that has the power to completely transform your life. And it is simple, but definitely not easy. It is the word no. Exactly, just no. The brutal truth is, you cannot say yes to every opportunity, every skill, every person, or every dream. You have to pick the ones that matter most and give them your full commitment. Otherwise, you will stay overwhelmed for the rest of your life, becoming average at many things while exhausted instead of exceptional at one. This is your permission to stop. Stop carrying goals that no longer serve you. Stop chasing the next hobby, the next goal. Stop trying to become a version of yourself that social media invented. Here's something powerful. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. When you say yes to another obligation, you often say no to peace. Here is my invitation to you. Grab a notebook, your phone, anything, and write down every commitment you're currently carrying, every goal, every project, every promise you've made to yourself. Don't filter, just write. Then ask yourself, which of these have I actually been consistent with over the last 30 days? Circle them. Now ask a second question. Which of these has genuinely improved my life? Your relationships, your finances, your health. Circle those too. Now look at what's left. This is the hard part. Most of those remaining items are costing you mental energy without producing meaningful results. They're emotional clutter. And clutter doesn't only exist in your closet, so it's time to let them go. Because being overwhelmed isn't a badge of honor. It's often a warning sign. Before you click away, I want you to hear this. You are not behind because you haven't mastered every habit. You are not failing because your routine isn't perfect. You are not lazy because you're tired. Maybe you've simply been carrying too much for too long. Maybe the answer isn't becoming more. Maybe the answer is releasing what no longer belongs. What if this is real growth? Imagine how different your life could feel if you stopped trying to be everything. Because your future isn't waiting on another productivity hack. It's waiting for a decision. A decision to stop scattering your energy. A decision to stop proving your worth through exhaustion. A decision to choose depth over overload. Because sometimes the strongest thing a woman can do is put something down.